Now it's time for 2 Against 1. Joining me now is former Speaker of the House, Bronwyn Bishop, and of course Graham Richo Richardson, former Labor Minister and Premier National Advisor. Well, Bronwyn and Richo, great to see you both. I'm just going to play you a quick grab of Peter Dutton. Already the blame game's out there. Could they have done better? Have a listen to Peter Dutton on this election campaign.
History doesn't allow do-overs, but is there anything that you could have done differently?
We should have called out Labor's lies earlier on.
So, Richard, I'm going to start with you. Dutton clearly saying that Labor have been lying throughout this campaign and the coalition have been honest throughout this campaign and should have been pointing to those lies earlier. Do you agree that that's a valid assessment of this campaign? A bunch of Labor lies on the one hand and coalition truth being ignored on the other, Richard?
I think that is a political tactic, a normal political tactic. You call the other side liars. Reality is in politics, everyone tells lies.
Yeah, but come on. We have seen lie after lie after lie. Ones that have been debunked, such as the 600 billion nuclear thing, debunked time and time again, such as the 78 billion so-called deficit, debunked time and time again. And Albo's out there every day telling lies. But the biggest lie of all, Richo, was that that Labor wouldn't go back to the voice. Penny Wong admitted it. That's a lie, that Albo said he would not go back to the voice. I asked you about this on this show a couple of weeks ago. You said, no way will Labor ever go back to the voice. There is Penny Wong saying we're going back to the voice. Explain that lie to me, Richard.
Well, I don't think we will go back to the voice. I think Penny will get overruled. I don't think Albo's heart's in that. And so I just don't think it'll happen. I think Penny's wrong. Now, I could be wrong.
And Annika Wells is wrong as well? Annika Wells is wrong?
Yeah, well, of course, yes. I don't think that,
You're not in the cabinet any longer, Richard.
Politicians are not always right, mate.
Richard's telling us that if he were in the cabinet, he'd vote against it. Do you believe, as I firmly do, that bunch of socialists who will form government if Albanese wins will bring back the voice?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I think when Richo says everybody tells lies, well, Richo, you wrote the book, Whatever It Takes. And I'm afraid this whole campaign by Labor has been based on lie after lie after lie, which you just outlined. And yes, Peter Dutton is right. It should have been called out much earlier. But to go back to the question of the voice, it should have remained front and centre in this campaign, because that when the Prime Minister said he would take it to a referendum, it did go to a referendum, and overwhelmingly the country said no. But they won't take no for an answer. They just won't. And we watch it come across. It's a socialist aim to divide the country by race, and it did just that. And now's the time to come and listen to people like Jacinta Price about what, in fact, we really want for this country.
So, Richard, you would maintain that Jim Chalmers or any number of other people in the cabinet would say no to the voice if it reared its head. Why haven't they come out and got behind Albo and said, absolutely, we will guarantee there will be no voice under a second Albanese government? You know why? Because they know it's not true.
No, I think because they don't think it's necessary. That's why. Labor's made its position clear. They don't think it's necessary to repeat that every half an hour. I think they're right.
They haven't said it once, Richard. Now, I want to ask you about, we've seen massive blackouts across Spain, Portugal, France, all based on net zero, Bronwyn and Richo. All of it net zero, all of it windmills and solar panels. Chris Bowen, Richo, where's Chris Bowen? Obviously, as Warren Mundine suggested earlier in the show, hiding in a cave in the outback somewhere because they don't want him to come out and admit that his net zero policy is a complete and utter disaster, and Australia will go down the path of blackouts, the Spanish-Portuguese path.
Well, net zero is just not going to happen. So it's not something I lose sleep over.
But that's the policy of the Labor Party. So should the Labor Party be telling us we're going to now rethink net zero because it clearly doesn't work? Bronwyn.
Well, we saw a touch of it when we saw South Australia blackout, when it was relying on renewables. But seriously, Spain and Portugal is a very large canary in the coal mine. And if we don't pay attention to it, we're insane. I mean, there's even Fiji today saying they're going to have nuclear power via a ship that they're going to use to service their islands. And yet we in Australia, a large island, if you like, who's happy to have nuclear submarines, says, no, we won't. have any nuclear here. Now, I remember when that legislation was passed in the federal parliament outlawing nuclear power, it was because everybody knew we had hundreds of years of coal available and nobody thought it mattered because we could go on using our coal, which gave us cheap, reliable power. Now, the thing that has to be done, if this government's got any sense at all, you have to up the maintenance on coal-fired power stations, bring in the gas, and then you can talk about nuclear will come on late 30s, early 40s. And 2050 will be dead and gone by then because the world will realise that
Absolutely.
It is not possible.
Richard, I want to ask you about the biggest one, other than The Voice, which I think is a disgrace that Labor intend to reintroduce that, this unrealised capital gains. Now, you're a big fan of Jim Chalmers. You believe he could be a future Prime Minister. Jim Chalmers wants to tax everyday Australians, take money out of their pockets that they do not have, to tax something that the bureaucrats themselves fantasise, oh, you've made this much money out of this property, so we're going to tax you X amount on it. This is an absolute disgrace. Can you justify such phantom, fantasy, student undergraduate economics?
No, I can't.
Good. So you're going to tell Jim Chalmers that that's got to go?
Well, I'm not sure I'll see Jim Chalmers, but he'll be watching, and I think he'll know. But I think he's getting the message anyway. Taxing people for money they don't have is a pretty dangerous business.
Absolutely. Bronwyn, I wish I could believe Richo on this one, but they're going full steam ahead with this thing. They've put it into the... it'll start on July 1. So what's going on?
It's already in legislation before the Parliament. I have been talking about this for a long time, and the people who are going to be hit the hardest are the millennials, because by the time it gets to their time to take their super, they'll be way over 3 million. It is not indexed. So
explain how it works.
It works this way. If the assets in your super fund go up, then the Australian Tax Office, the way the legislation goes, will determine what the capital gain is, and then you'll be hit with a tax of 30 cents on the dollar on that increase.
Even though you don't have that profit?
Even though you haven't got the money, and it's every year.
And it just keeps going up as so the bureaucrats, the tax office,
Correct.
sit there, decide how much money you've made and tax you on, even though you never see a red cent of that money.
And if the value goes down, then you get some sort of paper credit, which you could probably die before you'll see made out to you. So it is the most insidious tax. It came from Joe Biden, of all people.
Oh, great.
And it was adopted by our, well, I call him the snake charmer. And the snake charmer says, oh, this is a great way to get millions out, or trillions out of it. In the end, by the time they go on with it for
it's
years,
classic socialism, communism. They believe they own all our money and they just want to help them. It's theft, it's stealing. So we've got lies and thievery. That's what the Labor Party are offering us, Richo. Will they win tomorrow?
Yep.
By how much?
I believe they'll have a majority between 3 and 9 on their own.
On their own, so no Greens?
No Greens.
I suppose that's a blessing of some sorts. I still have some slither of optimism that you were wrong there, Graham Richardson. I look forward to you being proven wrong. That's always one of the great joys of my life. You know how much I look forward to that. Bronwyn, will Graham Richardson be wrong tomorrow night?
Well, I think there's every possibility that he will be wrong, because I'm looking at 8 seats which are still in contention in New South Wales. Depends where the soft vote goes. At least 3 in Western Australia.
Graham Richardson, Bronwyn Bishop, thank you both so much for coming on The World According to Rowan Dean.